Hello, welcome back to 78 Reflections. My name is Patty Elaine, and I'm so glad you're here. Today, I am going to be doing a video response to Intuitive Whispers, the Midway Catch-Up 2026. In previous years, I have done the prompts from Chanel Days, but I saw this one and thought this might be a good way for me to jump back into making videos for my channel. So I'll give a little personal update at the end, but for right now, I'm just going to jump right in. So prompt number 1, what is your go-to deck? Well, in terms of my week ahead, daily readings, I've been working my way through my 26 decks in 2026. And I might talk about that later as well. We'll see. But what I wanted to talk about is the decks that I reach for, kind of spontaneously. And these two decks. So this is the Book of Shadows, So Below deck, and this one is the Morgan Greer. And so these are the two decks I've been reaching for on a regular basis to help me navigate my day. So sometime back, I was inspired by Don Michelle to do transition readings. And I recently was watching a video where they talked about sometimes for people with ADHD that they might feel like they have one foot on the gas and one foot on the brake, and they might have trouble navigating through their day. And that has been very true for me lately. And one of the recommendations they had for getting through that is to gamify your day. There's a number of recommendations, but this one really resonated with me because I feel like the transition readings that I learned from Don Michelle, which I will try to remember to link her video in the description box, but I feel like they've really transformed my ability to move between different phases of my day. And so I have two different decks. Basically, I feel like my life is divided between my magical life, which I use the So Below deck, and my muggle life, which I use the Morgan Greer. What I love about this deck is I just feel like it's so practical. And I don't go to the textbook definition. I more lean into the imagery. So if this card came up as my current energy, I would probably say I'm feeling like I'm overextended, like I'm giving too much. If this was the energy I'm moving into, then I would probably say that I'm, kind of moving into grounding and calm, connecting my mind with my heart. And so this deck has just been so practical and fun. Sometimes it's on the nose and very, I can interpret it in a very pedantic way. So I've been using this every single day for transition readings in my magical life. And then for my muggle life, for whatever reason, the Morgan Greer has really stood out to me as a support for my muggle life. And I just think the upfront, close and personal images, the expressions are quite hilarious sometimes. This Page of Cups, she came up recently for me for a work transition reading. And my initial reaction is, magic is happening, but she's unenthused. And, sometimes that happens in my work. The determination of the King of Pentacles, the desire to connect, trusting my inner knowing. I just feel like this Morgan Greer deck comes through for me time and time again when it comes to the transition readings for my muggle life. So these are my two go-to decks so far in 2026. My most recent deck. So it was an intention for me to have a low buy in 2026. And it wasn't a no buy intentionally, but I did really want to be more mindful than I had in the past for purchasing decks. And have I met that goal? I don't think so. Have I been purchasing decks more mindfully? Possibly. Have I purchased a lot of decks? Absolutely. So this is my most recent tarot acquisition in the Crystal Keys. And what ends up happening for me is I can definitely tell myself stories about why each new acquisition is going to be so valuable. And I will say I do have a better process for vetting new decks. You know, for example, do I have time and bandwidth to work with this deck? Is it offering something different than all the other decks that I already have on my tarot shelf? And I couldn't resist this one. You know, I love crystals so much, and I absolutely love this deck. And so I don't regret it. Don't regret buying it at all. But I'm going to stop there because I'm going to reference this card later. But yes, Crystal Keys Tarot is my most recent tarot deck purchase. Now, my most recent Oracle deck purchase is the Head Witch Field Guide. So I'm going to forget who it was that inspired me to create a mega deck, but I'm going to link their video because I know I saved it. So I already had the Winter Seer Animal Companion Oracle deck, which I love. But I was inspired to create a mega deck. And so this is my most recent Oracle edition. So what I've done is I've combined the two decks. I haven't done any edging or anything yet, but I might. But I love them as a mega deck. And so, you know, my rationale here, in case you're wondering, for my low buy, was that, you know, I really didn't have any plant energy decks at all. And I wanted to get a gift for a sister in the cards. And she is definitely a green witch. And so I wanted to get her this deck. And I just thought it would be rude not to get one for myself as well. So those are my most recent deck acquisition. If I could have any deck, prompt 3, you know, I'm just trying to put a stop to the burning and yearning for new decks. So, and you know, a lot of people talk about burning desire to have out of print decks. I don't know if I'm just really good at compartmentalizing and saying, well, it's not available, so I move on. But in any event, there is nothing that I can think of at this very moment that I have a burning, yearning desire to purchase. Do I have some things in carts in various places? Yes, I do. Favorite crystal. So this is a new crystal to me, and it is right here. And this is inspired by this Septarian card. So I was on a work travel trip, and I was working with my Crystal Keys Tarot. And that morning I'd pulled this card. And then later that afternoon, I was in one of my favorite crystal shops. And I saw this, and I was just dumbfounded by it. I'm like, no, I'm not spending that kind of money. And then later on, I was just like, yeah, I just feel like I need to. The Crystal Keys told me I needed that. So that is my current favorite crystal. I have many crystals. I love them all, but that is my current favorite and my newest acquisition. How many YouTube videos this year? You know, I started this year off being very consistent, but I got into a really busy work season and got a new puppy and fell off the wagon. This is my welcome back video. But I counted, and I'm pretty sure there's 19 or this might be my 19th, somewhere in that range. Favorite jewelry for doing a reading. I don't really wear jewelry typically when I do readings, but it's kind of a sensory thing for me. But I do have favorite jewelry, and this one is a favorite mala. This is my birthstone. I'm an August baby. I'm a Leo. And my daughter got me this mala a few years ago. It's definitely a favorite of mine. And then this mala is also a gift from my daughter. She was doing her yoga teacher training at this ashram, and she invited me to come there for my birthday. And I believe this mala was made by the people who ran the ashram. But in any event, it was a gift that I got while I was there for my birthday. And then in terms of other jewelry, not when I do readings, but pretty much any time when I go out, I will wear bracelets like this. These just happen to be ones I wore recently. They're not necessarily my favorite, but I love those kind of bracelets. That's the kind of jewelry I usually wear. A special item on my tarot desk. So this little lady is a fairy, and I adopted her on winter solstice, I think 2 years ago. And she's lovely. So this is magnetic. And so I love her. She's wonderful. And she doesn't always stay here, but she's here today. And I think she's very special. I have a really strong connection with fairy energy. A hug deck. The Flower Child Tarot was a deck that I was inspired to purchase to communicate with my sister Debbie. And this was inspired by, not this deck in particular, but that concept was inspired by Shayna D. Is it Shayna or Shanna? Sorry if I'm saying your name wrong. I don't even know if she watches my channel. But one of the practices she does, I've learned a lot from her about ancestry work, but one of the practices she does is she has certain decks to communicate with certain people. And my sister and I had a very close bond, and she passed away in 2008. And sometimes I just want to hear her voice. And this Flower Child Tarot just reminds me so much of her energy because of the playfulness, of the bright colors, the cats. And I just feel like the messages come through so strongly for her. I just finished working with this deck last week. I recently started a practice of spending 7 days with a deck inspired by Simply Han. And this deck I worked with, it was my sister's birthday, or it would have been my sister's birthday last week. And so I was working with this deck, and it was incredible. So love this deck. Feel like I get a hug from my sister when I work with it. And it's cute and fun. And I edged it. You know what's interesting is, do you see how some of it's lighter? That's because I have my stand on my windowsill and it got sun bleached. Okay, maybe I should move that. That's a hug deck. The Flower Child Tarot. Soul deck. I feel like this soul deck question is hard to answer, and I do feel like my definition of soul deck has changed. So if I did another video and answered the question about my soul deck, I probably gave a different answer. But as I've been planning for this video for longer than I would like to admit, I've been really thinking about what is a soul deck. And you know, when I think about a deck that connects to me deeply into my soul, the very first one that did that was the Forhaxa. So when I got the Forhaxa Tarot, a very interesting phenomenon happened in which I just started writing the story of my life inspired by the story, these fairies in the cards. And so I just feel like this deck connects to my soul in a different way than any other deck ever had before. And of course, I love fairies. So, and this deck is incredible. You know, other than the size of the cards in the cardstock, this deck is incredible. But I love the Faraxa Tarot, and I do feel like it's a soul deck. Now, recently, I bought the Tarot of the Hidden Realms, and that was because it was being put out of print. And I had been thinking about it, but was trying not to buy decks, you know. And I purchased this deck, and I've had the same experience with this deck that I had with the Faraxa. It's this, you know, guided writing stories of my life, it inspired by this imagery. And so this, I would say this one also would fall under this, how I'm now defining soul deck for myself. Love this deck. Love it, love it, love it. I'm so glad that FOMO pushed me to purchasing it before it went out of print. Divination tools. So other than tarot, I do use pendulums, and I have them kind of scattered all over my house. This one I love. It's a tiger's eye. And my brother's favorite crystal was the tiger's eye. And so I feel like this pendulum really connects me to him, which makes it even more special. I also use charms. And here I have some charms. Shall I pull a charm for today? This is my energy filming this video for my comeback video. Starfish. Starfish. I'm going to have to think about that one, but I'm going to leave it right there. I don't feel like I have a big connection to starfish. I'm curious now. Deck release I'm looking forward to. True Confession. I have pre-ordered Practical Magic. I love Practical Magic, the movie. I am obsessed with the Practical 2 movie coming out later this year. And I've read the books, and I pre-ordered the deck. I know it is an Insight Edition deck. I know it might suck. It might be pippy, but I'm buying it anyway. Favorite tarot tubes. This one is hard because I do think that there are obviously tarot tubers that I love and watch pretty much every time they have a new video come out. But if I'm being honest, I think it's more the content, well, a combination of the content and the personality, because the content that I really want to watch is, I'm going to show you the Paulina Tarot while I'm talking. The content I really want to watch is how people are using their cards, what their practice looks like, because very recently I have evolved a lot of my practice based on inspiration from my friends on TarotTube. So Simply Han recorded a video about her week ahead spreads and her evening reflections, and you know, I'm now trying that out over the next few weeks, and so far absolutely loving it. Kelly, who is Non-Basic Bitch Tarot, she inspired me for an evening reflection that is, what is the story I'm telling myself about my day, is the first card. And the second card is, what is the truth about my day? That has been transformational. Marlena Teresa has inspired me in so many ways. I was inspired to do the 26 decks for 2026. I tried to do a deck and stroll inspired by her, but I've fallen off the wagon for that. Danny Mystic, part of her Patreon. I love her. Feeding My Soul 1212. I always watch her videos, and the humor is and the editing of her videos is great and funny. So I love watching their videos. Shanna D has really inspired me on the ancestry work, and I really enjoy her videos. She also inspired me to do the summer camp deck mod, something like that. So there's a lot of tarot tubers that I watch regularly, and I'm sure there's so many that didn't come to me just off the top of my head. But what I love about TarotTube is the community and learning from each other. I don't necessarily love haul videos or when someone shows their collection, just because I'm just so prone to FOMO, and I just try not to purchase decks. So prompt 13, tarot book. Well, I'm much better at buying books than reading them, but I'll show you the most recent book that I purchased. Talking with the Tarot, Conversations with Your 78 New Best Friends. Well, I love the idea that the tarot are my best friends. Have I read this book? Not really. So I've read the beginning part, and then my intention was, when I got to the card by card, was to keep this deck nearby. But because I took this book on vacation with me, I kind of forgot about it until today when I was trying to come up with a book for this prompt. And so I can't say I'd recommend it, but I can show you a cool book I bought recently. Maybe I'll remember to update you on it at some point. Pull a card from a deck you haven't worked with in a long while. So the Paulina Tarot was a deck that I purchased probably, might have been my second deck or third deck. It was definitely my top 5. Connection to fairies. But if I'm being honest, there's way too much going on in the imagery that it tends to overwhelm me. And I don't understand what's happening in most of these cards. This little book is shockingly useful, but I wish this was an oracle deck. I think that might work better for me, but I'm not feeling game for doing a modification on it quite yet. But when I thought about a deck I haven't worked with in a long time, this one came to mind. Also because there's a oracle deck that came out recently, and Lisa Pepez did a video recently where she talked about some of these Paulina decks. So I can't remember. I didn't write down what I was supposed to ask, but I'm going to ask for a message for me at this mid-year check-in, and then I'll pull a second card, a message for the community. What message do you have for me at this mid-year check-in? Two of Wands. So the 2 is a decision point, and the Wands is, our passion. Because this isn't the imagery I'm used to for the 2 of Wands, and this particular imagery doesn't bring forward anything for me, I'm going to reference the little book. Let me hold it up for you. The figure boldly walks to the beat of his own drum as he glides upon the clouds. The bird formed clouds manifest the power of his will, guiding him to shape his future responsibly. Boldness, authority, originality, daring, influence, taking the initiative, seizing the day, straying from the crowd, and creating your own style. That is a beautiful message for me, for my mid-year check-in. The problem is, I don't necessarily love having to read the guidebook, but that is maybe changing that is maybe changing my mind a little bit, that it might be premature to convert this to an oracle. Now, please give a message for the collective. King of Swords. So for the king, I always think of the king as the master energy, while the queen is expansive. I think the king is the master energy, and the swords. So it's our mind, it's our ideas, our thoughts, our perceptions. But I'm getting nothing from this imagery myself, but I probably will enjoy the guidebook. So let's take a look at the King of Swords. A born leader, the king governs all the creatures in the foliage around him. The birds represent communication and watchfulness. A moral leader, analytical, ethical, knowledgeable, a strong communicator. So, there we go. I'll leave it at that. I feel like I should have asked a better question for the community, but I'm going to move on to 15 goals for the channel. I'm going to talk about goals for my practice as well as goals for the channel. So starting with goals for my practice, trying to remember the name of the creator. I can hear her voice in my head, but there's a creator that inspired me to do seasonal deck edits. And I'm going to kick myself, but I'm going to link it. And so I have been using my seasonal deck edit for my week ahead spread, inspired by Han, simply Han. I am continuing with my daily draws, but what's changed is I'm doing one deck for an entire week. And I'm also using that as a bit of an opportunity to get to know the deck, re-interview the deck, and spend a full week just with that deck. And those decks are, some of them are from my 26 and 26, and some of them are add-ons because I'll get through more decks. I want to show you something while I'm talking, so let's do this mega deck. So my end of the day reflections. Inspired by Kelly, non-basic bitch tarot. The story I'm telling myself about the day and the truth about my day. So that's what my practice is looking like. Some things that I've abandoned. You know, I think that for the deck and stroll, I really got imposter syndrome. There were so many people starting the deck and stroll, and I had restarted kind of off cycle. But when I saw so many people starting it, and I just really felt like my knowledge of the decans and astrology and everything is just so low. I just didn't feel like I want to record videos about that anymore. And so as a result, I also abandoned it as part of my practice. Part of it is bandwidth. Other things about my channel, I had been videoing seasonal shift videos. If I'm being honest, I don't think people were interested in that. So probably not going to do that going forward. What I would like to do is, I really needed to reconnect with my why. Why do I have a Tarot Tube channel? And it's really about having an opportunity to share my voice with this community of people that I've grown to feel like they're my virtual friends, even though we've never met or even talked, but through the interaction, through the videos. And so, you know, I'd like to continue or restart filming one video a week, doing tarot tags, adding my voice where I think I have something to offer, and sharing my practice. And I think that's really where I get the most fulfillment out of it. So we will see day by day, but today is day one. And if you're here to the end, I thank you. If you're a subscriber, I appreciate you so much. If you're just watching for the first time, or, you know, if you randomly watch my videos from time to time, I appreciate you and thank you. Thank you to everyone for being here. So please like this video if you do. Subscribe if you want to hear more from me. And until next time, may the cards bring us truth bombs when we need it and gentleness when we don't. See you soon.